Now we have a 4-part series, Mr. Chumley.
Yeah, it's a 4-part series covering the Akai X7000 sampler keyboard. It was one of the earliest samplers, and we're just going to, in each episode, we're going to take you through a little bit of restoration and repair, and we hope you find it useful.
Every episode will have this introduction, so don't be confused. So we hope you find all of this useful. Take care, watch the vids, enjoy, and we'll see you on the next episode of Take the Fear Out of the Gear with me, Jason Bangers.
And me, Mr. Chumley Warner.
Thanks for watching, guys. Hit like, hit the bell, subscribe, please.
Right, this is just for information really. Got the quick disk drive is still in the Akai X7000, and I think there's two problems with this drive. This originally came from a chap, and I think he had lots of pets, and as we saw earlier there was loads of pet hair and stuff all in the drive. What I've done is I've taken this bit off. It's like 1, 2, 3 little springs, and if you can carefully lift it up. There's like the rails here, these sort of silver rails here and here, where it moves backwards and forwards, the head. I put silicone lubricant on there and cleaned them up as best as I can, so it's working better. Yeah, this spring here is just stretched, and I've stretched it a bit more just experimenting, because I've like put a pen in here and just made it a bit tighter. Because what happens is when the drive goes up on the worm screw, then the spring is meant to bring it back, and it's meant to bring it back, and there's a switch here which just gets sort of nudged like that, and then it does another read and then it finishes. But if the switch goes back too far, then you get a bad disk message. We'll just show you quickly what it does, and then I've found some springs, so just as an experiment we'll just see if we can find a spring roughly the same size, and we'll see if that works. I think this is going to have to have an emulator put in anyway, so I think that's going to be the way it's going to go, because this is just too unreliable, this one. Right, we'll put the keyboard on. There we go, Akai X7000, set to load. We've got a quick disk here, so we'll pop that in. I'll put it to load into bank S1, then you press load. So you can probably see it's moved back, and it should read across the disk. It'll probably work now. And then the spring should pull it back again, and it reads across towards the front. And this is what it does. Because this spring, I don't think there's enough tension on the spring, and I don't know if the rails are lubricated enough. It just doesn't pull back enough and hit this switch at the back here. So if I give it a hand, I don't know if that works. If I just put the pen on the spring here, see that hit the switch then, and it might stop now and say it's loaded. Yeah, but unfortunately it went back too far and it says bad data on disk. Right, I found a spring and put it on. I'll just show you here. There's like just a box of cheapest springs I bought off eBay. There's loads there. I found one and I cut it down a little bit lengthwise. I'll show you if you can see. There's the original spring, so it's that kind of size. Right, so it says I've turned it on, set to load, load into slot 1. Right, let's press the button and see what happens. It's actually stopped, and it may be working, so let's switch on the amp. We'll see if we've got anything. What I've done, I've just found a spring and I've just kept cutting it a little bit shorter until the tension's correct, and that's just loaded. We need to try it again, because we need to see if this is going to be vaguely reliable. So I'll switch the machine off, put it back on again. Right, we'll load it into slot 1, press load again. Well, that might have fixed the disk drive, but what I'd like to do is quickly we'll sample something in, and then we'll see if we can save it to the other side of the disk, and then see if we can load it quickly. I've sampled something in. Nice little sample, especially when you transpose it. Got like an industrial soundtrack. Right, so we've got the disc in there, and I'll try and record this sample on side B of the quick disc. So we'll go to save, fingers crossed. Right, it seems happy. Go to verify, that's the next test for it. It says verify error, so well, what we'll do is because it says it saved it, so we'll switch it off, we'll switch it on, we'll leave that disc in there and we'll see if it did save it onto the disc. So I'll press load. No, it says bad data on disk. No, so we can't seem to save on disk. Obviously I was just lucky that first time when I saved that data. Right, before I go and grab an emulator and we'll go from there, I thought I'd just try and get a close up, because you can see this is the spring I put in, so it's got some tension there. There's the little switch that when the drive comes back it hits. So if I just press load, you'll just want to show it you working. So that works perfectly. Putting this new spring in, and all I did was cut it to size until the tension seems right. So if you've got pre-recorded Akai discs, if you've got like an existing library with your S700 or Akai X7000, more than likely this is a sort of like a temporary fix that means you can still load your library, because it just seems to work fine on load. Can't seem to save on the disc. I don't know if the tension is wrong, so when it's saving and going across the disc it's not right, but I haven't got a library of Akai S700, X7000, or I think you can use the Akai 612 library, but I haven't got any discs for those. So my best solution to this is to put an emulator in, because I found some discs on the internet which hopefully I can load up on the emulator, and then we can show you putting the emulator in and hopefully loading some sounds. Off I go and I'll find an emulator to put in for you.